Sup Shredders, my name is Logan aka Spiderhands and welcome to an SP Patrons video that I am making for you as part of their custom monthly music review. And if we switch over to here, we have ourselves a track on the screen that is from an act named Noctchill titled I tsu datte僕らは. So we're going to listen through it from start till finish. We're going to hear what we think. There's also lyrics at the end for us to check out the translation, so that'll be cool. But yeah, let's go. Fantastic. With the build there with the guitar synths, drums and bass, nice and fresh as well. Straight to vocals. Hold on. Development of the guitars and synthesizer stereo field. Switch up the drum groove is kind of a fun way to differentiate the sections. Got chills actually from the harmonies. Absolutely no filler. Like that synth theme. I mean, like, this is how you write a track. The composition is absolutely flawless. There is such attention to detail with the different instruments. The different vocal types is really satisfying. You'd have a different singer for each bit. It's part of why these girl and boy bands work so well, as you get constant change there. It's not just one person telling the story. There's parts to a whole. It's very effective. And the percussion is just phenomenal. I mean, I don't know if you guys can appreciate how technical that is. So with the grooves, the different sort of ride and 16th sort of cymbal and snare and kick hits are just, it's wild, man. And guitar solo. Oh, so satisfying with that little change there in the lead. Now return to that bridge there, smart idea. Not really high up in the hi-hats, damn. I mean, this is honestly one of the best tracks I've heard in quite a while. I absolutely love it, man. Yeah, fantastic. Loving it. Return to the synth intro, good. And can you hear that bass line as well? I know I'm pausing a bit, but there's just so much cool stuff to point out. Can you hear that bass line up in that higher register? Double bottom. It's reflecting some of the ideas we had earlier in the chorus. Holy crap, that was phenomenal. What a banger, man. What a tune. I'm so glad you that you checked this out. Thank you for sending this through. I appreciate it. It's like there's just so much hard work put into songs like these that it's definitely worth giving them their day in the sun, their respect. We have the lyrics here for this track, for Itsudate Bokura wa. Although someone said that my dream would come true, where is that dream waiting for me? It's like a puzzle. Let's connect them. That's a call and response to the main and the side vocalists. There I heard a faint sound of hope. Gather lights resound to the distance. Let's call out the future. We can always do our best, stronger than yesterday. It's so uplifting, man. I mean, I see where they're going with this. I think part of why this music is so successful is that it's just really wholesome. There's messages that actually benefit people, you know, not losing hope and working towards something better and having like optimism, you know, responsible optimism. It's about the bond between us, working as a team. We can do anything because we're not alone. Let's call out the future. Shine, shine. Absolutely wonderful. And welcome to the conclusion of my review of this track from an act named Noctchill, titled Itsudate Bokura wa. Now, what do I think this track is about? I think this track is about an act that wanted to tell people to have hope and faith in their future, to not give up when things seem difficult, that they're stronger together, just to believe in a brighter next day, that we're stronger every step we take forward, you know, even if things seem a little bit difficult. And I think that's a really important message for people to hear. And I like that we're discussing it. And I think that with everything else in this track, it makes a lot of sense with the composition and the vocals, but just on its own, it's just a really satisfying take. So well done with the story. There'll be an audience for that for sure, and there is, because at least from you showing it to me, but I'm sure there's a lot of people, other people who appreciate this music, myself included. But also, it's the vocal performance. Now, I'm assuming that there's four ladies there that you can see there on the screen. I assume that they are different singers within the group. And you could hear different parts there, and I think that their different textures worked well within the arrangement. They all could sing well. They had great vocal technique. They were very comfortable within their vocal ranges. They were nice legato and bits. There wasn't a lot of vibrato. It was more like there was a bit like schoolgirl kind of chanting and stuff like that. There was like a choir aesthetic to it as well, with the way things harmonized and overlapped each other. There was lots of call and response between the mains and the sides to kind of keep things moving around. Everyone, I think, had their time in the sun with their vocal parts, and it was just a really great team effort there. So that was really wholesome as well. We had interesting vocal melodies between the verse, bridge, and chorus sections that intermingled well with what was going on with those harmonies there. And I think it was very satisfying to hear those components rock together, and I don't think there was a note out of place. They harmonized well with the backing, and the way that we performed sounded very appropriate for the style of music that we were doing, as well as the story that was being told. So the vocals and the story were a standout for me, but it's also the track at just under 40 minutes. You know, it's within that 2 to 4 minute sweet spot for first impressions on artists that I review. I like to make sure the tracks are within that length so that it's a little bit easier to kind of absorb and ascertain what's going on. It's always a bit of a shame when a track's too long and then you kind of feel like it's dragging on. Conversely, if it's too short, you can often find that you're missing important context unless they're very, very succinct with their messaging. We had lots going on here with the different instrumental parts, like the instrumental intro with like the synth and guitar parts with the drums and bass following soon after. We had the verse storytelling sections, a little bit of dissonance and tension in that bridge section with some interesting chord choices there. And then we played, obviously we had like a bigger, sort of more robust hook section, which was huge sounding. And we also had a solo section, which was great, as well as an interlude section out there with a double chorus at the end. That is a lot of real estate that we covered. We cut it up into nice little neat pieces, and it was really well phrased out. There was no filler. There were no points where I was like, wow, why have they included this? Why have they written that there? Very careful attention to detail, and they smashed it. In regards to the individual instruments, I want to give a few shout outs to a few key factors, like the synth intro for one. That main synth motif was so sparkly. It sounded like the stars of hope that they looked up into in the night sky. It sounded very bright and optimistic, and it sounded shiny. That tone sounding shiny works well with the messaging of the story of the song, and the vocals going alongside that formed a nice connection, so that was a smart texture to use in there. The guitars in that mid-range, either on the side with the leads and multiple different lead parts that were double tracked, or the rhythm parts with those chords there with with a kind of a warm, kind of creamy overdrive there was just sensational. I loved the choices there with the harmonies, and I liked the voicing of the lead parts. Not too ridiculous with the phrasing there, not too over the top, but nonetheless very satisfying to hear. And it resonated well on top of the rest of the arrangement, where there's plenty of room for it to do what it needed to do. I think the bass lines were phenomenal. We not only went around the low range and supported the root notes and were nice foil to the kit, the drum kit and stuff, but we also explored the rest of the fretboard in a higher range there and found a nice midpoint niche there where we kind of expressed ourselves with a bit of legato playing and such. It was very colorful bass performance there, very confident, and I'm very satisfied with it. And there was still a nice sense of funkiness with that, as well as the drum kit as well. The drum playing was phenomenal. Great sense of pace there, lots of different grooves there. We're working around those quarters, eighths, and 16th notes. Interesting fill transfers between parts, but resounding with like mainly a focus on like the hi-hats and crashes with some ride bits there. We just thoroughly explored the kit and had plenty of room to do so. Lots of adjustment there, and we also knew to come out in that interlude section after the solo to let things kind of float with the guitar and vocals. Ultimately, the composition was fantastic to listen to. I'm really happy with what I heard today from this group, and not a note out of place with the performance either. The motif itself sounded nice and bright and optimistic and cheerful about the future. So in that, with those major chords, with the charming kind of happy, perky synth melodies there, with the general energy and aura and charisma to the way things were played, without there being too much darkness involved in those harmonies or any of the other bits. So I think the theme matches well with the story, and the vocals and everything is nicely intertwined, which is part of why it makes this song so successful. Finally, it's just the icing on the top at this point. The studio production, recording, mixing, and mastering was sensational. Really satisfied with what we had going on in that respect. Just with this group, they had a phenomenal recordings of the vocals. They were great takes. They captured the energy and the sparkle of what their effort they were putting in, because they were singing their hearts out, right? And so the vocals weren't just in the center, they were panned to the side sometimes. Things went around the stereo field as per the rest of the other instruments, so it was nice and interesting to hear all these different bits intertwining, and kind of, yeah, it was fun to listen to. There was constant changes there, not too much that it became confusing, but enough to kind of go, oh, that's a thing there, oh, that's a new thing. So it was never, you never felt disengaged by it. Not that there were any quiet bits really, aside from the purposefully quiet interlude bit with just the guitars and vocals at the end for a bit of respite before that double chorus, but still, what we had going on, not just with the vocals, but in addition with the guitars being double tracked with the different leads in various places, and forming a nice mid-range with the chords there, the bass line being in the center, but allowing plenty of space for the vocals on top tonally, and regards to the octave range there. The drums being nice and punchy, but not sidechaining too much. And the tom fills going around the sides of the stereo field to sound like, kind of like you're inside the drum kit, if that makes sense, with the synth swimming around the mid to high range. And it was nicely, things were nicely placed in the stereo field, and things were nicely notched in the frequency spectrum without any resonant frequencies. The leveling in general was great. There was dynamic range to this. Things weren't the same loudness the entire time, which was a godsend, because that would have ruined it if it was too constant, especially with all the things going on. That's a big issue with songs like this, when they're so full on and so intricate that it can just be too much. But they knew how to kind of keep that space there, that breathing room, but it was still nice and loud without pumping, so the bus compression limiting was handled on the master chain. And this is my review of this track from an act named noctchill, titled "いつだって僕らは," and hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please go show them some love via their various social medias and a YouTube page, and stay cool and stay safe, and please remember to support your local musicians and artists at this point in time, as you the hell more than ever thought of crazy stuff going on in the world, and I'll catch you in the next SC Patrons video. Spiderhands out.